Okay, thank you everyone for joining. So we're gonna get started. So I see lots of familiar names in the group today. So thank you for all those people who know me and are here. For those that don't know me, my name is Anna Stranagan. I'm a strategic business manager here at TD SYNNEX, and I like to talk all things Microsoft AI Cloud Partner Program in regards to any benefits and incentives that are associated with it. So today I'm going to be just giving an overview of the Microsoft Incentives program, and I will be covering some enrollment and eligibility details, as I am still finding partners out there today that are not enrolled or maybe not familiar with some of the eligibility requirements. And then I'm also going to do some screenshots with some how you're going to track your rebates in Partner Center and navigating that and finding those co-op dollars. So if you're new to Microsoft Commerce Incentives, then this is definitely the right webinar. If you are not new, I do think you'll get something out of it. And if you don't, and you already know all this, then that is awesome, because that is really where I'd like to see all of our partners be at, okay? All right, so to start off with, we are gonna just talk about the incentives. So recently there has been more changes, and I want to make sure everyone's level set on this. So new incentive rates did start on July the 1st, and new eligibility started on October 1st. So that does bring in quite a new incentive structure. A few things have been removed and new additions. But the structure basically still is there are core incentive rates where partners would earn on eligible SKUs. There are strategic accelerators where partners earn more on those specific products that Microsoft deems as eligible. And then the last is brand new, this customer growth accelerator. And so Microsoft is paying for all growth, whether it's new customer growth or existing customer growth. So this is quite new. And I've yet to see those earnings show up in Partner Center, because this only just started in October. But I do anticipate a lot of partners to be making more on this growth incentive. So overall, when it comes to Azure, your total potential earning will be 10.5%, and that's based on stacking these accelerators with the core. If it's modern work and security, then your total incentive earning potential is 18.25. And with business applications, it's 19.5. All right, so this is the new incentives all on one sheet. So hopefully this isn't too massive, but I figured it would be a good way to go through the differences. So one of the great things I will say is not a lot of partners were earning Azure incentives before. And so now, come October 1st, there is a lot more partners that can be earning Azure incentives. So for those partners, brand new on Azure, there is a consumption and lever called Azure Consumption CSP, where you will earn 3% across all Azure consumption. There is also the Azure Reservations and Savings Plan that is also 3%. So whether you're selling straight subscription or you're using the reservation plan or savings plan, it's 3% across all Azure consumption. And then Microsoft has this CSP Growth Accelerator. So any growth year over year, you're going to earn an additional 7.5% on the growth portion. Now, there is some max earnings here, which they've been increased from previous years, but very few partners ever achieve this maximum earning potential. And there is a great report in Partner Center, which we'll talk a little bit about, for you to kind of keep an eye on that in case you do have a customer that you feel would hit those max earnings. So for Azure, all incentives are split in a 60-40, meaning 60% is paid to you as rebate and 40% is co-op. Rebate is calculated and paid monthly. Co-op is calculated monthly, but it accrues over a 6-month period. That 6-month period is the same as the Microsoft fiscal halves. So at the end of the fiscal half, Microsoft will then give you access to your co-op dollars. Okay, so now for eligibility, to earn incentives on Azure, you do require either one of these 3 Azure designations: infrastructure, data and AI, or digital and app innovation. If you do not have that designation, then a minimum of 25 points in one of those scorecards. Okay, now there is also a minimum revenue threshold of 25K across CSP, and that's a trailing 12 months. Now for Modern Work still has that core CSP eligibility. And with that, partners will earn 3.75%. They have strategic accelerators and Modern Work. So your first one here is Tier 1, which is Business Premium and M365 E3 SKUs. That pays an additional 3%. The Strategic Accelerator Tier 2 is on the Microsoft 365 E5 SKUs and Copilot, and that pays an additional 7%. And then the third accelerator here is on the Calling and Conference PSTN SKUs, and that pays an additional 20%. Most partners are in this Business Premium E5, and we're seeing a lot more Copilot. So we really want to highlight here, when you're selling Business Premium in E3, you're earning this 3% plus the core. This is stacking. Same goes with the Microsoft E5 and Copilot. You are earning that core, plus on those SKUs, you're earning that 7.5%. Now, Microsoft recently announced there are new Copilot business SKUs. Those will also be part of the core, part of the accelerator. So do pay attention to that, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But those SKUs are pretty exciting because now there's going to be a lot more opportunity for you with your end customers to upsell and attach those bundle SKUs and earn even more incentives. All right, and then the last one here is that growth accelerator. So you're going to earn 7.5%. Again, this will be on the any incremental growth year over year at the customer tenant level. These incentives do have maximum earnings. These maximum earnings, again, are very few partners ever reach them. They do reset, by the way. So come July 1st, starts a new incentives term. Those max earnings all reset. So if you were to cap out on anything in here, again, it will reset in July. So for Modern Work, your eligibility is going to be either the Modern Work designation or the security designation. It does not matter if that is SMB or enterprise. If you do not have one of those designations, then 25 points in one of those scorecards. And again, it doesn't matter if it is Modern Work or, Modern Work SMB or Enterprise Security SMB or Security Enterprise. And then the last one for CSP incentives is that Dynamics. So on the core, you're going to earn 4%. On that first strategic accelerator, which is finance and supply chain SKUs, you're going to earn an additional 7%. On Business Central, you're going to earn an additional 8%. And then on that growth lever, it is 7.5%. So same as all of the other solution areas. So for business applications, you're going to need that designation or 25 points in that scorecard. So overall, these levers are pretty straightforward, a lot more consistent from solution area to solution area. So hopefully this will be easier for partners, certainly identifying where you're eligible and tracking those incentives. Now, if you guys do have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. All right, so I do want to kind of also highlight about that CSP growth incentive because it is calculated year over year, but it's a monthly. So every month when you're earning your incentives, Microsoft is doing a year over year. And so with your customers that you have annual billing, Microsoft is basically breaking it down to a per month basis so that they can figure what growth it is. This incentive is per customer tenant. So one customer does not impact the other. You could be one customer of yours could be growing, the other one could be declining. You won't be penalized for the decline, and you got all the up for the one that is growing. This is calculated by solution area. So again, if you have a customer who is growing in Azure, but not in modern work, then you have potential for that growth accelerator in Azure. The last two is what is included. So specifically when it comes to modern work, that growth accelerator is only on the business premium, E3, E5, and Copilot SKUs. When it comes to Dynamics in Azure, it is on all products. Okay, so if you are focused on business premium, E3, E5, and Copilot, this is amazing. If not, you might want to really look at your customer base and what you can move over to at least a business premium. All right, eligibility. So the 25 points, especially for any partners who are new, and I'm still coming across this, which is okay, but I'm glad that partners are coming out and listening and now being aware of the eligibility requirements, because this 25 points only just started on October 1st. And I will also say that it is considered transitional, so it might not be forever thing. It is definitely until June the 30th, but if you have a designation, then you're definitely going to be good to keep earning incentives. So we probably won't find out from Microsoft until maybe like March timeframe to what they will do for next year. But with regards to the 25 points, so if you've got the designation, you are going to be eligible for your incentive for the entire term of your solutions partner benefits package. So if you have a modern work designation and your solutions partner benefits packages end March 30th, you are definitely going to be eligible for incentives until that date. Now, for those partners who have 25 points, right, Microsoft is checking every month that you meet that requirement. If you don't have 25 points in that current month, then they'll look back an additional 5 months. So it's really a 6-month window that you need 25 points. That is a lot of flexibility. So I do know the points go up and down from month to month, but given that they look at over 6 months, it does give you a long views to make sure that you keep your minimum 25 points to keep earning incentives. These 25 points, it can be in just one area, like for example, in modern work, for the solutions partner modern work, there is 100 points maximum. Your 25 points could all be from a combination of performance and customer success, or maybe it's all out of customer success. It doesn't matter as long as you have a minimum of 25 points in your modern work. Now, just a reminder, in order to earn a designation, that would require that you have a minimum of 70 points out of 100 with no zeros. And earning a designation also means you do have to purchase the solutions partner benefits package. Okay, so all this thing with the partner capability points, we will go into kind of more of that in other webinars, but just know 25 points is the minimum. These points in Microsoft Partner Center are not live data. Okay, the scorecard gets refreshed once a month, generally by the 20th of the month. So it does change slightly for the different solution areas. Like you might see the Azure scorecard get updated a week before the modern work. But generally by the 20th of the month, all of those scorecards should be refreshed and reflective of that month. Some really important files that when it comes to Microsoft incentives, you always want to have handy. And you need to download these frequently. So the very first one is that incentives guide. Today, it is a whopping 216 pages. Its major update is going to be in July, but Microsoft does quarterly do some minor refreshes to it where they've added more engagements. So you will get a copy of this deck and the recording, so you'll have all of these links. But definitely you want to have that incentives guide because it has all the details in it. The other next important document you want is that product addendum, this one. Microsoft updates this generally quarterly, but it can be even more often than that. But this is basically an Excel file that will show you exactly what SKUs you are eligible for when it comes to M365 and Dynamics. It'll show which ones are considered core, which ones are considered strategic, and the growth accelerator. So the last one was updated November 1st. They will be updating it again. I expect it to come out this week, and that's because new SKUs are being launched today, those Copilot business SKUs. So Copilot, or what's it called? M365 Business Basics with Copilot, Microsoft 365 Business Standard with Copilot, and Microsoft 365 Business Premium with Copilot. So you'll see this one get updated probably, I would say, tomorrow. So you'll want to download that again so that you're clearly focused on the SKUs that are going to give you those incremental with those accelerators. The last document is the co-op guide. If you're earning rebate, you are earning co-op. Okay, so at some point your earnings are going to be in this co-op threshold where you have to follow the Microsoft rules. This is the book for all of the rules. And next week, I will be going into a deep dive into that guide. Okay, so today we're sticking with just the incentives part. All right, so any questions about the CSP incentives before I move on to some of the other things that are in the incentives guide? And feel free to take yourself off of mute, raise your hand, type a question in the chat. Okay, so in the incentives guide, Microsoft has a few engagements in there that I really want to highlight today, because if you're eligible for these today and you don't know it, then please reach out to me. If maybe you like these incentives and now you're thinking, I want to earn that designation, great. Then at least it'll give you some structure as to what designation you want to achieve and which, or second or third one that you want. So that first engagement opportunities, so these are called funded-based activities. And the first one is that Microsoft Accelerate SMB. This will pay you, Microsoft will pay you to do migrations for any new Azure products. You do have to have an Azure designation to be eligible for this one. This one specifically has to be the SMB designations. So if you have an SMB designation, an Azure Infrastructure SMB designation, you will be eligible for these 4 engagements: Core Migrate and Modernize, Core Migrate and Modernize with MDC, which is Microsoft Defender for Cloud, Migrate and Modernize VMware, and Virtual Desktop Infrastructure Migration. All of these activities can pay up to $12,000 for migration work that you're already doing. And so this is easy money. You just have to follow some of the Microsoft claiming processes, but we will help you with that, and we have some other resources to help our partners understand this process. So if you are eligible for these, and you have not used them, please reach out to us. Now, the other 2 in here is the data platform and the AI agents and developer. These ones you will need either the data and AI or the digital and app SMB designation. If you've got that, great, you're going to be eligible for these. This process, I will tell you, is much easier than doing co-op claims. So you'll like it. It just takes a little bit of learning in the beginning, like everything with Microsoft. So these amounts here of up to $12,000, they're based on project sizes. So below are the project sizes. So an extra small would earn you $2,000. And that would be a brand new project, an Azure consumption, where it would be the total consumption at the end of the year would be anywhere from 5K to 15K US. For an extra small, it would be anywhere from 15K to 50K, and you would earn $4,000. And the small engagement is anything greater than 50K up to 100K, and you would earn $12,000. Okay. The next ones to point out, again, I'm only going to talk about the ones that you just need a designation for. So there are quite a few when it comes to security. There are immersion briefings. So there's the threat protection immersion, the data security immersion. These are one-to-many webinars that you would be delivering. They can actually be virtual or in person. The anticipated is about 90 minutes of content that you would be delivering. Microsoft provides all of the decks for you, and you could earn $2,000 per engagement that you deliver. Microsoft also has workshops. These are one-to-ones. There's quite a few here. There's the Threat Protection Envisioning Workshop, the Modern SecOps Envisioning Workshop, the Data Security Envisioning Workshop, and the Cloud Security Workshop. These are 3-day engagements. Again, Microsoft will provide you with all of the content, and there are some eligibility requirements in here, but you would earn $8,000 per workshop delivered. And then the last one, which is fairly new, is the CSP Accelerator, Defender, and PureView deployment. This one is a post-sales incentive where you're getting more customers to deploy the Defender and I can't even say it, PureView suites. And this would be for deals between 100 to 300. You would earn $1,750 for this. So that one's pretty new. All of these, as long as you have a security designation, SMB or enterprise, it doesn't matter, you would be eligible for these. The last one we're going to talk about is under the AI business engagements. So there are 3 immersion briefings. The very first one is Copilot and Agents and security briefing. That is also a webinar, whether you do it virtually or in person, about 90 minutes. You would earn $2,000 per session delivered. Now, this one here, you do need a designation in order to be eligible for this. And you do need to have, you need to be validated or invited by Microsoft to participate in it. So it will not be something that all partners can just, you don't just get it because you earned a designation. You have to earn a designation, and then Microsoft will invite you into this engagement opportunity. And then the same thing with the very last one, which is the Business Central immersion briefing. Same kind of concept, but this one you would need the business application designation. And again, Microsoft will invite you to that. Now I see a question of where do I sign up for incentives? Excellent question. Thank you, because that's exactly where we're going to go into next. So those are all the incentives that we talked about from Microsoft, right? And you do have to enroll in incentives, but enrolling in incentives is something that you do only once. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that, and I've got some screens to kind of walk you through. If you are already enrolled in Microsoft Commerce Incentives, you do not need to do anything. Enrollment is once. Other than maybe maintaining, like in case you're required to update banking information or tax information, you only enroll once. It is the incentives admin person who enrolls you into the Microsoft Commerce Incentives program. Once you're enrolled, you immediately start earning incentives for the ones that you meet eligibility for. If you don't meet eligibility, you won't earn on them. But once you do, so say, for example, you can earn today on Microsoft 365, but you don't have enough points in Azure, or you don't have an Azure SMB designation. Then once you achieve that eligibility, say maybe that's March of 2026, then you become eligible, and it's regards to the CSP rebates, it will be automatic. If it's the engagements, well, those things require a few extra steps, but you don't have to enroll in them per se. And then the last thing is enrollment is per transacting location. So every location that has a CSP NPN number, because it is definitely by region, so you would have to have separate transacting locations for US and Canada if you operate in both countries, or maybe you operate in other countries. So you do need to enroll per transacting SMB location. Now, that enrollment process is pretty quick, and it really takes about 20 minutes. But where you see that is in your partner center. You would go into that incentives workspace. You do need to have incentives admin or incentives user at least to be able to see anything. So you would come in here, and if you see an invited under the Microsoft Commerce incentives, that means you are not enrolled. You need to enroll. If you see under the status enrolled, then you are already enrolled, so there's nothing for you to do. Now, if you do see an action item under status, like update banking tax information, you do need to do that, and you need to do it right away. It can impact your ability to earn incentives and block any payments. Okay, so assuming you came in here and you see this invited, if you see invited, but you don't have a link in here to enroll, it just says like this first line item, invited, you just need to double click on program name. When you double click on that program name, it'll change that invite into a hyperlink to enroll. You will click on that enroll, and from there, you'll be able to follow all the steps to enroll. So first step is you're going to click on that enroll, and you will accept the program terms. From there, you will add payment and tax profile. So you will click on this, and it will take you right to the section. This section is in the account settings. So if you go up to here in the gears and account settings, it'll take you here. But either way, when you link it, the wizard takes you through all of the steps, okay? So you're going to make sure that you select Microsoft Commerce Incentives. Now you might see multiple line items here. Again, you want to make sure you select the one that is for your transacting CSP location. You will click on that Microsoft Commerce Incentives and then click on this edit button. That will pop up for you to either select a tax profile in case one was already created, or you will create a tax profile. In most cases, you'll probably have to create a tax profile. When you do that, it launches you into this whole screen here. Once you're in here, you definitely want to make sure that you've got like the owner of the company or the finance person to go through all of the legal terms and the correct information, right? Once you have done that, then you're going to come in and you'll see there'll be a screen where you've got this payment profile, and you'll see multiple earning types. You will want to click on the little radio button and the pencil for each earning type. And from there, you will want to point it to a payment profile. If you don't have a payment profile, you will create one, okay? And so it'll look like this, and it'll pop up a little screen like this where you will choose the payment profile once you've created it, or you have the option here to create it, and you will select the currency that you would like to be paid from Microsoft. Once you've done that, that's it. That is everything that needs to be done. And then what you want is to wait and for this verification to say complete. And that may take a couple days. It could take up to a week. Okay, so I would suggest that you come back and take a look at it. And that's it. That is all that you need to do. It takes about 20 minutes. And then I would suggest that you come back into this incentives section, and you want to see this under the status, say, enrolled. So that's it for the enrollment. And then next is we're going to talk about eligibility, because this is where you can sometimes miss incentives. Specifically, there's one right now is the Azure SMB. Anyway, I'll show you what I mean. When you come into the incentives, there is a section here under MCI engagements. When you click on MCI engagements, you'll see all of these different activity names in here, and you can toggle between the different solution areas. These activity names all correspond with the activity names that are in the Microsoft Incentives Guide. So CSP M365 Indirect Reseller, Azure Accelerate SMB Data Migration. All of them are in here. And if you're eligible, you'll see this green light here. Okay. And if you've got multiple partner centers, meaning you're a global organization, possibly there's a chance that maybe only one of them is eligible versus all of them. But usually it would be all of them, unless they haven't done that banking profile. So you'll want to come in here. And probably the easiest thing is you can toggle between all of these different solution areas. And if you just kind of click on eligibility twice, it'll sort them and show you which ones you're eligible for at the very top. Now, the other thing you can do is you can type in the search here and put in CSP incentive, and then it'll show you, for example, under Modern Work, these are the 3 incentives right now. That first one is direct bill, that's for partners who are purchasing direct with Microsoft. The distributor one is obviously for disties like us. So you want to see that green light is under that indirect reseller. The Azure Accelerate SMB. So I mentioned earlier, there are a couple engagements that are actually hidden in here in Partner Center. They will not show up unless you're eligible. So you can, again, type the name exactly as the name and how it's spelled in that incentives guide. I just, in this example, typed in SMB because I know that that is like a short way of typing in for all the Azure Accelerate. So in this example, nothing comes up. This person is not eligible for the Azure SMB Accelerate. If you were to type in briefing, for example, and if it came up, great, and you saw those green lights, you're eligible. If it came up and you do not have those green lights, you are not eligible. Okay, so then you got to reference, well, what are the eligibility requirements that you must meet in order to be able to earn those incentives or also the engagement opportunities. And then the last thing that you can use in that engagements is maybe you just want to filter it, because I'll tell you there is a lot of things in here, and there's some old items in here that are closed. They are there for reporting information because Microsoft still needs to keep that information. But it will say status closed. So maybe you just want to look at, well, what are the activities that are active that fall under transact? So these partner roles, so partner activities would be those funded fee engagement activities like the workshops and the immersion briefings or the migration, Azure Accelerate. The transact would be those CSP rebates where you're earning based on your sales. And then the last one is user consume. This one's actually retired now. It was the old CPOR incentive. Okay. Now, if you did dig into one of these where you saw only, 2 out of 3 were eligible, you can click on it and then it'll show you all the different locations and which location is eligible, as well as, is their profile status up to date? Because looks like in this example, they need to update their payment and tax profile. So this is where in Partner Center, you would validate all of the MCI earning opportunities that you would be eligible for. All right, and then we're going to go into the tracking. So where you would see all your earnings is in an earnings workspace, okay? If you come into the earnings workspace and you see 0, it is either because you don't meet the eligibility or maybe it's too soon. And I could tell you right now that a lot of partners that are going to only just start being eligible in October, they might still be seeing 0s in here because Partner Center still hasn't had all its full updates yet. So it looks like there's a little bit of a delay from Microsoft, but I anticipate that would probably be done soon. So this example is this partner, either it's too soon or they're not eligible. But maybe you are eligible and you've been earning incentives. So in that case, when you come in here, you should be seeing numbers. And the very first thing I will tell you is when I come in here, I change this time view. I like looking at 12 months. 3 months is not enough data to look at. So change it to 12 months, change it to 6 months. You can also use the custom time frame if you want to go longer, like maybe 2 years, but 1 year is pretty good. This earnings card, that is your total earnings over 12 months. And if I have chosen any of these other filters that are in here, this earning amount would be based on this timeline and filters. So I've not changed any filters in here. I just like right away doing the timeline of 12 months. The second is your payments card. So that over the 12 months is how much you have been paid by Microsoft. If we scroll down a little bit more, this earnings and distribution trends, this is my favorite card because, well, it defaults here to the payment status, but it's this next section here, this buy lever that I like looking at, and even this earning type. So this buy lever shows you what are those top 5 levers. So anything that has a different earning rate is called a lever. Where are you earning the most money? And so what I like to see is those strategic accelerators being very close or more than the core incentive. Then I know that you have like optimum, you're really maximizing your incentives with Microsoft. If you go to this earning type, you're going to see, and you'll want, because these are all screenshots, but when you hover over any of these months, it's going to show you exactly in that month. So if I was to hover over April, it'll show me how much in April was my earnings for rebate and how much of it was for co-op. Okay. And so your co-op earnings are, remember, they're not paid monthly, they're accrued over 6 months. So this is a good way of seeing or anticipating how much your co-op earnings are going to be. So maybe you want to look at the last 3 months and then use that as a guess for the next future 3 months. The other thing is when I'm in here and I see, for example, in the months of December and June, where you've got this dip down in co-op and a big injection in rebate, that means you are below the co-op earning threshold. And so Microsoft takes your co-op earnings and converts it to rebate. And so in the beginning, this is awesome because you're getting more cash directly from Microsoft, and you get these 2 cash injections twice a year. But as you grow more, your co-op earnings will get above that co-op threshold. And then at that point, it won't be converted to rebate. It gets deposited into the Microsoft Co-op Management tool. And from there, it is a use it or lose it. So this is a great way to keep track of how much are you earning in co-op every month? Are you getting close to that 10K threshold? All right. And then that next kind of earnings card is that earnings and payments. And so here you can see how much you're earning a specific month and how much you got paid. These will never match, okay? They'll never match because if you earned in October, you probably won't get that payment till January. So there's always like that 3-month lag of when you actually receive the payment. The other thing is because co-op is calculated monthly in your earnings, but you don't get that payment until 6 months if you're below the 10K threshold. If you're above the 10K threshold, well, then it depends on your co-op claims that you've submitted to get reimbursements. So these will never match, but it is good to look at again for the health and know that you are, maximizing your payments are flowing through, that there's no issues. You also want to kind of scroll down in that same earnings. You can come in here into this earnings summary. You can look at who are your top 50 customers that you're earning the most money on. Maybe you just want to type in the search a specific customer. You want to get a sense of how much back-end incentives you're earning from that one end user. The next section is the payment section. So payments, it'll give you in here the payment date, the payment ID, and you'll see this earning type and then the earnings amount. So co-op and rebate payments are never done at the same time. They are always kept separate, as well as any other type of engagement like the fee-based. So there's 3 main earning types: rebate, co-op, which will show up as claim, and fee, which will be those partner activities, those workshops and migrations and immersion briefings. You can pick up that payment ID number and put it into the filters to kind of see all the details if you wanted to just isolate it. Maybe it was a rebate. Again, you want to isolate to see where it was, because maybe it was a few customers with some annuals and it was a very large rebate payment, or maybe the payment was lower than expected. And again, you want to take a peek as to why. All of the data, all of the detailed data is available here in Partner Center. You are basically going to come up to the very top of that earnings, and you want to download that earnings default report. When you select it, it will run the report here in this report tab. You'll be able to download it. It is a massive Excel file, but it will give you all the details that you need. Answer all of your questions about what SKUs you're earning, which customer, the subscription, what engagement and lever type was it, and like it has everything. The other thing is you can come in here and run that max cap report. And that max cap balance is the one I told you about. If you're worried about some of these accelerators that have maximum cap that you can earn on, you want to download this report and it will tell you all of them. So what you have earned to date under the term and what you have balance to earn. All of this will reset come July 1st. So if you do hit that max, it will reset July 1st. Again, very, very few partners ever hit that max. All right. Now, that earnings report I talked about, this is kind of just a snippet of what it would look like. I forgot to write down how many columns it was. There's probably like 30 different fields in there, 30 columns if I was to take a guess. But it's going to give you, so you've got here that program name. So you'll see Microsoft Commerce Incentives. You'll see the lever, which is all of the ones that we talked about that had different earning rates. The engagement name, which is kind of the top level of that earning program. This earning rate, that is the percentage you're earning, right? So here on this CSP motion, it says 4% because that's what it was previously to last year. The quantity, you've got the earning type here. So whether it was rebate, co-op, because they'll split it out, the earning amount in US, the earning date, and you've got payment status. So if it was already paid, you'll have a payment ID number here and a description. You're also going to have the end customer name in here, the subscription ID, the product name, because maybe you want to look through all of those products that, you're selling business standard and you want to move them to business premium now. If you're really good with Excel, you can throw this into some nice pivot tables. And so don't delete any of the data. Learn to do a few pivot tables. That is the easiest. There is tons of people on YouTube nowadays giving Excel tips and tricks when it comes to pivot tables. So you want to be familiar with that report, use it to kind of validate your earnings, and you can also use it to find opportunities where maybe you can upsell some of your customers. Okay. Now, that report I talked about, like, well, what if if you're under the co-op threshold, you saw that dip up and the dip down. If you are above that 10K co-op threshold, then you also want to stay on top of that. So again, if you're earning rebate, you're earning co-op, but the co-op is accrued over 6 months. After the 6 months, you fall into two scenarios. So you're in the under 10K of co-op earnings. So this would be an example. Maybe you're earning about $4,000 a month in MCI incentives. If that's the case, every month over that 6 months, it's going to total about $24,000. Your rebate would be about $2,400 a month, and your co-op is about $1,600 a month. So at the end here, this individual had $9,600 of co-op earnings. That is below the threshold, which means that Microsoft will convert the co-op to rebate, and they will see this large payment of $9,600 extra on their rebate. Now, if you were over the 10K example, so if you're a partner who is earning about $5,000 a month in Microsoft Commerce incentives, your rebate is about $3,000 and your co-op earnings are about $2,000. Now, I'm giving you guys easy numbers, but the numbers aren't always equal like that, because again, if you have an annual prepaid, that will jump up a particular month, right? Versus things that are monthly paid. So in this example, they have $12,000 of total co-op earnings. They are over that 10K threshold. So the key dates to know is February 16th and August 16th. That are the dates when co-op gets deposited. So twice a year, every 6 months of earnings. Let me see, I see a message in here. No message. Okay. So now to see your earnings, you're going to come back into Partner Center. You're going to go into the incentives workspace, and you're going to come here to co-op management. Click on co-op management, click on this program view, then click on Microsoft Commerce Incentives, and it's going to pop up this screen. Okay. Here you'll see there's a bunch of different filters that you can filter. So location, pay attention. If you have multiple locations, each of them will have their own bucket. The fund category for CSP is Cloud Solution Provider, and it's always going to default on the current usage. So, it's really only 4 and 5 that you might need to play around as far as the filters go. Here you will see that amount. So in this example, they have $11,690. These are for funds to be used for marketing activities that take place between July 1st to December 31st. And the last day to submit a claim is February the 15th. Okay, so timing wise, that's why next week I am doing a co-op webinar. So please check if you have co-op dollars. Come to the webinar next week. Make sure your marketing person comes next week also, so we can get you kind of started on learning how to submit claims. Now, I also want to point out Cloud Solution Provider is the CSP, but there are other, you can earn co-op dollars from Microsoft if you're selling Surface or Hub, right? So you can toggle between those buckets. They keep them as separate. When you toggle between those buckets, you'll see if you're earning any money from those programs. Okay, so last I want to leave you guys with some resources. So clinics like today, to kind of webinar sessions, one-to-many, to kind of help you with, I want to make sure partners understand that the basics of, well, more than the basics of all of the Microsoft MCI and MAICPP stuff. If you need personal guidance, one-to-one coaching is available. There are lots of resources from TD SYNNEX and Microsoft to help you guys with certifications and exams in order to increase your points in your scorecards or to get those designations. So when it comes to clinics, this is the lineup that I have scheduled from now until the end of March. So you'll get this deck with all of those links. So depending on which topics pique your interest. And I want to leave this with you guys with the exam vouchers. So if you are working on the Microsoft 365 fundamentals or any of the fundamentals, we will support you with some exam vouchers. Exams for the fundamentals is about $99 US. For Canada, you can request, or sorry, for the US, you can request a voucher. So you'll request a voucher up front, and then you'll use that voucher to book your exam at no cost. For Canadian partners, you'll use this link to request reimbursement. So you'll have to pay for the exam and then get reimbursed. Now, exciting though is number 2. This is brand new, so I'm looking for any partners who are willing to do this. I have a whole bunch of exam vouchers from Microsoft that will expire December 31st. And so if you have individuals in your organization who can commit to writing and taking an exam, right, before December 31st, it has to be a technical exam. So basically, not the fundamentals. It would be things like the Azure Administrator, the Azure Expert, the ones in the security. In the modern work, it could be things like the MS 102, the MS 700. So any of those numbers, as long as it is a certification that aligns with security, Azure, modern work, or biz apps, we can support you with some exam vouchers. This is the link to fill out. It is different than the form up here. Again, this is only for technical, and you'll have to name somebody in your organization as the administrator, all right? Because they will have to follow 2 extra steps, 1 of activation and 2 of sharing the link to the individuals who plan to write the exams. So if you know people, again, in your organization that are ready to write some exams, please fill out this form. It is while quantities last, but we will be having vouchers again in the new year, but these ones I priority to get out. I don't want to waste any exams. So, and we'll leave you with some of these other materials here for certification classes. And that is everything. So I know that is a lot. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, you will be getting a copy of this deck and the recording. Next week, I'll be going into a deep dive of the co-op and the claiming process in co-op, as well as what are some easy things that you can submit claims for. Maybe some not so easy, but very worthy of paying attention to. Okay. All right. And if there are no other questions, then I just want to say thank you, everybody, for joining me today, and I look forward to having you attend next week.